previously on Sodor, the early years.
You had a narrow escape as well, didn't you?
But it's a bit of a long story. They're going to scrap me, aren't they? You can't hide here, but there's an old quarry branch at the next signal box. Even as he finished speaking, I could hear the approaching growl of a diesel hydraulic engine. I knew I wouldn't be able to get back in hiding in time. The diesel stopped short of the crossover and looked closely at me. "You'd be the mystery engine Control had us looking out for yesterday," he said. "Trying to escape scrapping, are you?" "Yes," I replied, hoping he didn't see my wheels wobbling. He didn't speak for a moment. "You've got courage, and that's a rare thing," he said. "If anyone asks, I didn't see you." "Are there any more freight extras coming?" I asked. "As far as I know, I'm the only one," he replied. "Now, don't you think you had better get going?" He didn't need to tell me twice. I quickly chuffed out of there, taking the crossover onto the correct line. We weren't too far from the island of Sodor now, and we knew we could make it in one night if we were quick. But as we continued along the line, a horrifying realization struck me. "Driver, how much coal do we have left?" I asked. I could feel there wasn't that much in my bunker. "Not that much," he replied. "We'll have to find some soon." But there were no coaling towers left on the main line. Eventually, I ran out of coal, and steam along with it. I slowly coasted to a halt in the middle of the line. We only had one option. Driver ran along to the nearest signal box, which we had just passed. He then returned and hid with my fireman and Isabel. Before long, a diesel came. He buffeted up to me roughly and hauled me away to the scrapyard. He shoved us onto a siding and left us there. "Do you think we'll be here long, Mr. Oliver?" Toad asked. "I don't know," I replied. As the next day passed, I couldn't help thinking about that question, whether this would be the day that I would finally be subjected to the scrapper's torch. Jibes and teasing from Diesel's working in the yard didn't help, either. It was the longest day I'd known. Eventually, night fell and my crew emerged from Isabel. My driver looked around. "There must be some coal around here somewhere," he said. Before I or my fireman could reply, the sound of a whistle drifted through the air. I gasped. "That sounds like a steam engine." "One of Sir Topham's engines?" my fireman speculated. "Could be," replied my driver. "We're close enough." They quickly climbed into Isabel to see what was going on. We didn't have long to wait. A few moments later, a black shape emerged from the night, shunting a goods train into a siding near me. I had never been so glad to see another steam engine. I heard him come to a stop on the other side of a string of freight cars. I didn't think he had seen me. There was a faint clanking sound as his driver uncoupled him from his train. "Let's not hang about here," he said. "Ye ken this place makes my wheels wobble." "Aye, there's no argument there, Douglas," replied his driver. They had both spoken with a strong Scottish accent, and it took me a moment to realize what they had said. Douglas was about to leave, and I knew I couldn't miss this chance. "Help!" I called, as loudly as I dared. Douglas stopped. "Who's there?" he called. "Are you Sir Topham Hatt's engine?" I asked. "Aye, and proud of it. I'm Oliver, and I'm with my coach Isabel and my brake van Toad." "But what are ye doing here?" "Escaping." "Escaping? From Scrap?" "Yes," I replied hopefully. "Then I'll be glad to help ye, but it will have to look as though you're to be scrapped." I smiled, for the first time in 2 days. Douglas gently buffered up to me. "There's no time to turn around," he said. "I'll have to run tender first." Our crews worked quickly, chalking scrap all over my body and removing my coupling rods. We quickly headed for the main line. We got as far as the foreman's office. "What's this?" he said. "A Great Western engine, coach, and brake van? You can't take these." "Aye, but they're for us," replied Douglas's driver. The foreman carefully looked me over, and I could feel my wheels wobbling. "Seems in order," the foreman said. "Right away, driver." "That was a near thing," Douglas said. "We've had worse," I replied, thinking of that encounter with 7101 outside the quarry siding. We soon reached the bridge to Sodor. "We're home," Douglas said. "They can't get you here." We soon reached Crovan's Gate, and Douglas shunted us into a siding next to the works. "Thank you, Douglas, from all of us," I said. "Dinna fuss yourself," he replied. "I'm glad I could help ye, but I had better get going, otherwise the Fat Controller's going to wonder where I am." "The Fat Controller?" I asked. "That's Sir Topham Hatt," he explained, and with that he puffed away. The workmen arrived an hour later, and they were surprised to find us there. "We had better call Sir Topham," said the foreman. "No doubt he knows something about this." But when he arrived an hour later, he was just as surprised as the workers. I quickly explained how I had got there, and he spoke to my driver and fireman for a few minutes. Then he climbed aboard Isabel. He climbed down after a few moments and came around to me. He wasn't smiling or frowning, but I couldn't help feeling a little apprehensive. "Oliver," he said, "I think that you, Isabel, and Toad will be perfect for the Islesborough branch. We're in the process of reopening it." "Do you mean I can stay?" I asked. The Fat Controller chuckled. "Of course you can stay, Oliver. No matter what happens on the other railway, steam will always have a home here." I was glad to hear it. When I came out of the works, it was the best I had felt in years. I hadn't felt that healthy since I'd first come out of Wolverhampton, decades earlier.
They do a good job.
Agreed Alice.
Sir Topham's rescued a few engines, hasn't he? You, me, and Douglas.
Oliver chuckled. "Yes, he has a habit of doing that." At this point, the station master walked up to the 2 engines. "The signals have been repaired," he told them.
I should get going then. It was nice to meet you, Oliver. Thank you for telling me your story.
"It was nice to meet you too, Alice," Oliver replied as Alice left. "This new fireman's only just come out of training," Thomas whispered. "Well, we all have to start somewhere, Thomas. And don't worry, I'll be with him. This feud has been going on for long enough. I know you both have your sides of the story, but what we need to look at are the facts. This is Gordon, from the newly formed London and North Eastern Railway. He will be visiting us for a couple of weeks. Please make him feel welcome. Engines, these gentlemen are from the Railway Inspectorate. I expect you to give them your full cooperation. Well, he said he would make sure that Pacific doesn't take my place. He said what? But he meant by doing his best, sir, and proving that he's a really useful engine. This changes everything. You should tell Gordon as soon as you can. Gordon was gobsmacked. Why didn't you mention this earlier? Well, it's not easy being red.
Nonsense! It's splendid! Everyone looks at you as you go along the line.
Exactly, replied Henry. As he approached the forest, Oliver heard a whistle ring out. 2 short blasts followed by a long one, the railway's standard warning signal. He braked quickly and came to a stop just short of where James was stuck in a snowdrift. The red engine was looking quite annoyed.
Where have you been? Duck demanded. Sir Topham's been waiting to make a special announcement.